Hi guys, welcome or welcome back to Randomly Random. I am Kwame, your internet's bestie. Today we are watching a horror film titled Half Light. The plot? A woman dates a man who actually died long ago. Ooh. That sends chills down my spine. Get your snacks ready and let's get into it.
Welcome to Movie Shortens. Follow us today to a movie titled Half Light. Be aware, there are spoilers. In a small house in London located near a canal, we meet Rachel Carlson, an American murder mystery novelist. Rachel lives with her second husband, Brian, who works as a book editor, and her 5-year-old son, Thomas. Brian has returned home and received an email. It's a rejection letter from a publishing company about his future book, Fade Away. Rachel doesn't pay much attention to Brian and instead focuses on typing. Thomas wants his mom's attention, so he drives his toy car right into her foot. Thomas then tells her that it's time to go outside, with his mom telling him that she needs a little more time. He heads outside on his own as he can't wait any longer. Brian comes into the room a minute later and shares his news with her. Rachel says that they also rejected her first book too and continues working. Meanwhile,
Wait, is that Demi Moore? I can't really see the person's face. She really looks like Demi Moore, but like a younger... Is that Demi Moore when she was younger? I'm not really sure. Let's continue. If you know the actress's name, type it down below.
Thomas opens the gate that leads to the canal. He walks down and begins playing with the water. Rachel begins to call for Thomas, but she doesn't hear back from him. She then discovers the gate is wide open. She heads down the stairs to the canal and continues calling out to her son. She then sees his action figure floating in the water next to a wooden boat. She moves the boat out of the way only to make the unfortunate discovery that her son has drowned. Fast forward 8 months. Rachel is driving to the coastal region of Scotland looking for a new home. She blames herself for the death of Thomas, and due to her inability to reconcile his
I'm sorry, this is not victim blaming, but why would you live near a canal? Like your house is right on a canal and your 5-year-old child does not know how to swim. Like this is not in any way blaming them, but like, what? Like I've worked with children before and drowning actually happens so quickly with children. Like it happens quietly and quickly. How or why will you leave the gate like so accessible to the child that he can just open it? Why don't you lock up the gate leading to the canal? I mean, I'm of the opinion that if you have a pool in your house and you know you have children there, like if you have any source of water, a pool, if you live on a beachfront by a sea, if you live on a lake, on a canal, a river, whatever, whoever lives there should learn how to swim. Like what? Whew. Wow, that must really hurt. Okay, let's continue. Wow.
Passing, she can no longer finish her book. The tragedy has also put a tremendous burden on her marriage. She has fallen out of love with her husband, and Brian is asking if they should divorce. Though she did not commit to the idea, she says they should deal with it later. Rachel's attitude towards Brian has changed, as she put all of the blame on him, accusing him of leaving the gate open. He is tired of her non-stop thinking about Thomas and also being labeled.
It's an unfortunate accident, right? Yes, if they had taken certain measures, maybe the child wouldn't have died. But could they have perhaps stopped it? Yes, like, honestly, that's the reality. A lot of factors here could have been mitigated, right, to keep the child more safe and to prevent his death. But right now, he's gone, right? I know people have different ways of grieving. There's the anger, then, the self-judgment comes, then the blaming others comes. So maybe this is just like one stage of her grieving. But yeah, am I the only one who feels like even from the first scene, she didn't really like her husband? Like, I feel like there's no difference. Am I the only one who feels like from the first scene that was shown, like the way her husband walked in and she wasn't really paying much attention to him? It's like, it looks like their marriage was already on a thin line. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's continue and see what happens.
As the one at fault. She eventually settles on a house on the coast all by itself, the only thing in its line of sight being a lighthouse on an island far away from
Can see
her.
she loves
She calls her friend
waterfront
Sharon to
houses.
tell her about the house's location, letting her know she will be fine. She walks around and discovers neighbors along the way. Finlay Murray and his wife Mary Murphy, who point her to the town. As she arrives, a lone woman sitting on a bench named
Thank goodness she has neighbors. You know, I don't like those movies where like the woman goes to some secluded place where the next house is like 1,000 miles away. You know, at least she has neighbors, right? I just hope they are not strange neighbors, because remember, this is a horror film. So yeah, let's see what happens.
Morag, tells her that her son is waiting for her on the swings. Rachel questions whose son, but Morag backs off and claims mistaken identity. Leaving town, she heads to a beach and gets a boat to the lighthouse. She explores the island, taking photos of the horses that roam the area, making her last stop to take a picture of the lighthouse.
Oh, this is so
Just
beautiful.
then, a man named Angus spooks her unintentionally, only to remark that the lighthouse is impressive. He lets her know that they should become friends since they are now neighbors, and she agrees that they should. Later that night, as she is going through Thomas's belongings, she finds a cryptic message saying to look behind her, which makes her feel uneasy. When she turns around, she sees her own reflection in the mirror, scaring herself and dropping the sketch. Upon picking it back up, the message has vanished. The next night, she suddenly sees Thomas outside on the dock by her house. She rushes to hug him and tells him not to go. He then tells her to come and be with him. Puzzled turns to panicked as Thomas pulls her into the water and attempts to drown her. She wakes up in a panic and it turns out to be just a bad dream. Slowly catching her breath, she looks over and sees Thomas standing next to her again. He lunges at her neck. She wakes up again.
Wow.
Another day passes and she now decided that she needs to take a break from typing.
That would have
to go
been some
and see
red flags
Angus.
to get out of
Getting
here,
a tour
okay?
of the place, she learns that Angus lives by himself.
Maybe she wants to be
Angus,
closer to her
his
son,
father,
but no.
and his grandfather all lived in that lighthouse, so he could never leave. He takes Rachel to the top and sees the horizon in all its magnificence. Rachel gives Angus one of her books and departs from the island looking much happier than before. Some time has started to go by. Angus and Rachel spend more time with each other, walking on the beach, riding horses, and just enjoying his company. Rachel shares about her enjoyable experiences and life by the waves with Angus with Sharon. One day, she and Angus decide to take a photo by some ruins on the island.
Guys, what do you think? Is this cheating? Because she's still divorced, right? Like, it's different when you're spending time with a male friend and having fun or whatever. But, like, she's literally dating this man now. Like, they spend each breath of every day together. They're literally in a relationship. Is that cheating? Or would you say that because she and her husband are somewhat separated, it's not cheating? Let me know your thoughts. I feel like it is, especially because the husband does not know what is going on. Like, you should give him that closure. Like, hey, I met somebody, so do you. You know, I'm doing me or something. When I come back, we'll talk about the divorce. I don't know. But ever since she's been here, they've not shown her once even talking to her husband. Like, even to tell him that she's reached safely or something. Like, their marriage is literally over. But they are still legally married. So I don't know. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments.
At first, Rachel is joyful, but after the shutter and flash go off, she starts flashing back to the time she was with her son. She snaps back out of it when Angus notices her still frozen, asking her if she is alright. She only tells him that she needs to get back and that she is sorry. Sometime later, she is at a local bar, alone and zoning out, when Morag approaches and mentions about the gate, which Rachel left open. Morag informs her that Thomas is trying to follow her, still dripping wet and attempting to hold her hand. All these words from Morag cause Rachel to drop her glass. Finlay helps her clean the glass and tells her to disregard what Morag says, accusing her of being an attention seeker. At home, she finds another cryptic message written.
They always call people whose behavior they can't explain crazy. Why do people always do that? And it's weird because throughout my life, what I've realized is that the people that people call crazy, sometimes they are the ones that are speaking the truth. Just to disguise like, oh, don't mind her, she's crazy. Oh, don't mind him, she's crazy. And then it turns out what the crazy person was saying has been true the whole time. But yeah.
With the alphabets on her refrigerator. Terrified, she comes to see Angus. Stairs lead to caressing, leading to a kiss, and then an embrace. Finally, feeling better about life, she goes to a birthday party for Mary. She asks Mary if she has seen Angus yet. Her question surprises everyone there. Mary tells her that Angus and his wife Kate died 7 years before. Everyone else at the party confirms the reality, leading Rachel to go mad. She starts to think Angus might have never been alive. Upon leaving the party and going back to the lighthouse, Finlay tells her that Kate had an affair with the fisherman. In the rage and chaos of finding out, Angus shoved her into the furnace, killing her. Angus killed the fisherman by impaling him with the hook, hoisting him up. Then he jumped from the top of the lighthouse. She looks for evidence that he is alive, even calling Sharon and talking to her about it. She tells her that Angus must have been her imagination. Worried for Rachel, Sharon decides to come take her to her home. Disbelieving what is happening, Rachel goes back to the lighthouse and climbs to the top as she thought she saw Angus.
Wow, look
up
at the
there.
time you're going back
Just
to
as
the
Rachel
lighthouse. You
gets
couldn't
to the
go
top,
in the morning.
Sharon arrives. Rachel comes back down and tells her to imagine Angus away. Rachel sees Angus behind Sharon and tells her to turn around, even forcing her to turn around to see Angus, but Sharon doesn't see him. Turning her back to Angus, he stabs Sharon to death. Rachel goes to Finlay for help, but when they get back, Sharon's body is gone. Worried she has imagined it all, Rachel then calls her friend Robert to go check on Sharon. Robert then calls Brian and tells him that he thinks something is wrong with Rachel. Unbeknownst to Robert, Brian is already in Rachel's house. We then see Sharon, very much alive, meet up with Angus at a bar. It is revealed that Sharon and Brian have decided to kill Rachel, and Angus is a part of it. Brian's reason is for the money she has, and Sharon because of her envy. Angus is actually a man named Patrick, and is warned better not to have fallen for Rachel, or his whole life may have collapsed. Wow. Before leaving town, Patrick recalls throwing the film from Rachel's camera behind the ruins, and goes to wipe out any other existence of him ever being there.
Wow.
Alone at home, Rachel thinks she hears something outside the house. She investigates, and initially thinks she is mistaken. Turns out Brian is still there and comes from behind her and puts her to sleep. Patrick, now with the camera reel, looks to leave the island, but is stopped when he starts thinking about Rachel. He ventures back to the lighthouse, but to his horror, something attacks him. At the same time, Morag goes and warns Finlay about Rachel and his...
What a wicked friend and husband. So basically, her husband and her best friend planned to kill her. Look at me, and I was defending the husband saying that she was cheating. So, I mean, if your best friend or your husband want to kill you, what does that mean? It just means that they were cheating on you. I mean, what else? What else could the motivation be? They were cheating on you or they want your money. What else could the motivation be? And I was here saying she was rather cheating on her husband. I mean, Brian is her husband, right? Yes. Wow.
Convinced by Mary to go investigate. Now Rachel has been taken on a boat crewed by Brian and Sharon, and Brian is close to throwing her overboard with an anchor around her feet. Wow. Just before he does, the lighthouse starts emitting light, and both don't realize Rachel is reawakening. Before she can grab the key to undo the lock around her leg, Brian pushes her. She is able to hang onto the boat for a bit before being pushed overboard. Struggling in the water, Rachel cannot undo the lock to the anchor. Before she passes out, she hears Thomas's words showing her the key. When she does, she sees the key that can free her. She surfaces and heads to shore. Both Sharon and Brian have gone into the lighthouse looking for Patrick, thinking he turned on the lights only to be confronted by Rachel, who has found a flare gun. She tells Brian to tie himself up, but ends up in a struggle with Sharon. Misfiring the flare inside, Brian attacks Rachel, but the impact of his spirit sends Sharon into the furnace, killing her. Brian follows Rachel up the stairs of the lighthouse, but is stopped by Patrick. However, he denies being Patrick and stabs Brian with a hooked chain. Patrick then goes to the top of the lighthouse, stares down Rachel, then places the seashell in her hand and jumps off the top to his death. All three have mirrored the way Kate, the fisherman, and Angus died in the past. Some time has passed and the conspiracy has become public. At Rachel's house, Finlay tells Rachel he will keep people off the island to let Angus's spirit rest. Morag gives her a last piece of advice and tells Rachel to let go of Thomas's death. They hug it out and Rachel leaves her house. She then goes back to her original house at the beginning of the story and sits in the same place she had been when she took the picture with her son. Rachel finally comes to peace with that day. Like and subscribe to watch more videos.
Wow. Honestly, this film had some unexpected plots I didn't see coming. But I still don't understand how the whole town thought Angus was dead. That means a man really called Angus died with his wife, right? Because we later find out that the person she thought was Angus is actually called Patrick. So maybe when she mentioned Angus, they were actually thinking of the person that actually died, that had killed his wife. Is that what happened? And Patrick was just happened to be a different person. Okay. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this. I would give it like a 7 out of 10, Would I go watch the full movie? Yes, maybe to get some more context of certain things that I didn't understand. If I had access to it, I would definitely watch the full movie. Let me know what you think, guys. What do you think? And if for some reason, you've watched the full movie before and you feel like this narrator left some details out or did not capture the full essence of the movie, please do share with us in the comments, okay? And let me know, did somebody called Angus really die, or was Angus the same as Patrick? Let me know, because I'm really confused about that. And what was the major reason why her husband and her best friend wanted to kill her? Was it because they were in a relationship and cheating, or because of her money, or both? Like, let me know. Did the full movie give those answers? Let us know in the comments. Guys, thank you so much for joining me for the watch party of Half Light with the young Demi Moore. I love her. Please do like this video, and until next time, don't forget to subscribe. See you next time. Bye, guys.